Hey brother! The magical world seems to be full of powerful magical objects that act of their own accord. The wand chooses the wizard.
Curious. Very curious.
They can also change allegiance.
This was the wand of Draco Malfoy.
Was. Is it not still?
Well, perhaps not, if you won it from him.
And this sentience can become of the utmost importance, not only to us, the readers, but also to the characters themselves that must respect that magic has rules beyond their control.
You killed Dumbledore, Severus. While you live, the Elder Wand cannot truly be mine.
Voldemort's wrong, of course, for reasons I won't get into, but the Elder Wand's allegiance ends up being mighty relevant in the end.
It's mine.
Don't you just love how our boy HP just gives the wand that little twiddle? So cash. It's mine. It's mine. Anyhizzle, the real big takeaway here is that magical sentience is a thing. And I don't actually always look at it this way, but it can almost remind me of the Force from Star Wars.
It's true. The Force, the Jedi. All of it.
It's like its own strange third-party mystical entity attempting to find a sense of balance. And obviously we see this most firsthand in everyday objects like wands, but then there are layers that seem much more mysterious by comparison. Objects like the veil at the Department of Mysteries, seemingly a natural creation, a portal to whatever lies beyond. Or on that exact same token, prophecies. Divination doesn't seem to be the most widely accepted curriculum at the school. Dumbledore even directly speaks to this sentiment. On a cold, wet night 16 years ago, in a room above the bar at the Hogshead Inn, I had gone there to see an applicant for the post of divination teacher, though it was against my inclination to allow the subject of divination to continue at all. However, as we all know, the reason why this recollection is important is because it's the very evening that Dumbledore hears the prophecy about the relationship between Harry and Tom Riddle. But even the fact that the prophecy is delivered to Dumbledore, arguably the greatest wizard of all time, of all people, seems intentional. Like, magic itself was choosing the right person who could take the information and execute a plan that could return proper balance to some kind of equilibrium. Even the usage of someone like Trelawney, who on all other accounts seems to come across as a bit more of a joke that no one really takes all of that seriously, might be the perfect medium for such important information. Like, magic itself wouldn't risk the liability of channeling foresight through someone powerful or dangerous. It had to be someone who posed minimal risk on the whole. Because heck, for that matter, she doesn't even remember ever dictating the prophecy in the first place. The point I'm trying to make is that magic is alive. It operates of its own accord and seems to, on some level, have its own agendas. Which brings me at last to the question I hope to answer today. There can be no greater stronghold of magic than Hogwarts Castle itself. At times, it genuinely seems to be alive, which got me wondering, is it? Yo, I'm gonna take a brief pause right there to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, BetterHelp. Mental health awareness has absolutely been growing, but I know that when I went to my first ever appointment, I was terrified, worried that this meant that there was something wrong, that I'd taken some kind of wrong turn that I couldn't possibly find my way back from. But now I genuinely look forward to them because I've learned that in these sessions, I'm able to work through so much and see every appointment as an opportunity to grow and feel more comfortable and confident in my own skin. But seeking out therapy doesn't only benefit yourself. When people hesitate to get help, it doesn't just affect them, it impacts families, workplaces, and entire communities. In fact, we even have a policy here at SuperCarlinBrothers that the crew is able to take any time for therapy appointments that they need. There's just no questions asked. Plus, BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable and convenient and serving over 5 million people worldwide. The truth is, we're all better with help. Visit betterhelp.com/super to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/super. Link is in the description down below. Okay, so chances are, if you're so deep into the lore of the wizarding world, you're probably not totally blown away by the completely groundbreaking thought that Hogwarts Castle may at times be operating of its own accord. Moving staircases, talking portraits, secret passages, and of course, magical runes capable of providing whatever you may need. You know, basic castle stuff. That's why I'm like absolutely jonesing to have a castle of my own someday. But the question I'm trying to find the answer to is just how in control it actually is. How alive is the castle, and what lengths might it go to in order to achieve its mission? And if we can answer all that, what is its mission? What does the castle want? Like, it sure would be helpful if castles could talk, right? And good news, in this case, I actually think it can.
What?
As we all know, Hogwarts was originally built over a millennium ago by the four founders, Godric Gryffindor, Helga Hufflepuff, Rowena Ravenclaw, and Salazar Slytherin. And I personally like to think that there was someone else, like a James Bumbletack. Of course, everybody calls him Jimmy, but his name, of course, wasn't alliterative, so the other four were like, hey, what if we kept it to four founders and their neat little buddy who lives in the basement? And then Salazar went and got a pet basilisk, and Jimmy got... Well, what's important is that Jimmy's gone. I've gotten off topic. The founders built their school that was meant to outlive them all, to stand the test of time and be a safe haven for young witches and wizards to hone their skills and expand magical horizons. But how to ensure that the castle continued to hold true to their original mission for years and years to come? Well, we actually know the answer. The Sorting Hat. A vessel to contain the knowledge of all four founders and maybe Jimmy's knack for a good rhyme, am I right? The Sorting Hat, in a lot of ways, is the mouthpiece for the castle. Once a year, we get the briefest glimpse into what the castle itself desires. And in any ordinary year, like Harry's first year at the school, the Sorting Hat's message is straightforward. Who were the founders? What were their specialities? And closes with this. So put me on, don't be afraid, and don't get in a flap. You're in safe hands, though I have none, for I'm a thinking cap. Don't be afraid, you're in safe hands. Calming words for any hesitant first year who doesn't know what comes next, but more representative as well. The wizarding world is existing amongst the calm at the time. Things are fine, business as usual. And I would argue that this is exactly what the hat, and therefore the castle, wants. Because then as time goes on and things get darker and deviate from this calm, the hat starts to voice its agenda far more clearly. And it ever since the founders four were whittled down to three, have the houses been united as they were once meant to be. And now the Sorting Hat is here, and you all know the score. I sort you into houses, because that's what I'm for. And it goes on to express doubts in dividing students based on sorting, stating, though condemned I am to split you, still I worry that it's wrong. This means that the hat knows that sorting might not always be the best, but it's literally its primary function. So why do it? Well, I've had a thought. We know that some students seem to embody characteristics from other houses. Hermione easily could be a Ravenclaw, Percy possibly a Slytherin, and Neville a Hufflepuff. And let's face it, Crabbe and Goyle seem a natural fit for Jimmy's dungeon.
How thick could you get?
But I think it could be so much more. I could almost see a world where the hat is intentionally placing people who very well might be a better fit in a different house as a way to build bridges and allegiances between the houses. Almost like Hermione could be a representative for Ravenclaw ideals, nestled neatly amongst the Gryffindors. Lily and Snape are the best of friends upon arriving at school. The idea isn't to divide them, it's an effort to bring Gryffindor and Slytherin closer together. Their friendships will outweigh their assortments. And the same could be said for Peter Pettigrew, who could have been in Slytherin but is dropped into Gryffindor instead. It's all there for these characters just to link up and cinch together. James, Sirius, and Lupin are all good friends. They'll be close with Peter, who could be close with Snape, who is already close with Lily, who the rest will also like, and boom bam, we've got a multi-house friendship tied into a neat little bow. But then sometimes human nature just simply outs. Snape's jealousy gets the best of him and pushes Lily away, while the Marauders, who deeply value friendship, simply accept Peter with open arms, and he doesn't need to seek out more like-minded friends from across the aisle, at least for a while. Hey, was that a little Jimmy touch in there, a little ramen flair? But then, of course, there is the Golden Trio that has always seemed like the ultimate medley. They are, of course, all Gryffindors, but then Harry has the connection to Slytherin. As mentioned, Hermione's cleverness is a shoe-in for Ravenclaw, and Ron is the perennial friend, making him the obvious Hufflepuff. And you can deep dive sorting scenarios all day. Like for Hermione, it's ultimately what she values that makes her a perfect Gryffindor.
Me, books and cleverness. There are more important things. Friendship and bravery.
And to be absolutely crystal clear, I personally would typically subscribe to this making complete sense. But also in the end, Harry, Ron, and Hermione are the ones who work together to bring representatives from 3 of the 4 houses together to form Dumbledore's army. This group goes on to be the primary combatants at the Battle of Hogwarts. I would go as far as to say that Neville was the true Gryffindor among them to round things out. Somehow, some way, the Hat's goal of unity is working. And speaking of being alive and the Battle of Hogwarts, we know, of course, that the castle does fight back when McGonagall activates Pier Totem Locomotor.
I've always wanted to use that spell.
On some level, this is witnessing the castle assembling its own defenses. The question is, though, what if Voldemort had cast this spell? Would it have worked for him, or would it have always fought for the true ideals of the castle? Because personally, I'm inclined to think that it's the latter. In fact, I think we even have precedent for that. Take, for example, when Umbridge has taken over the castle as High Inquisitor. We learn from Ernie Macmillan and the Friar that the school does not accept this transfer of power. The Fat Friar told me that Umbridge tried to get back into his office last night after they'd searched the castle and grounds for him. Couldn't get past the gargoyle. The head's office has sealed itself against her. Ernie smirked. Apparently, she had a right little tantrum. I bet she did. Good. Then there's Fred and George's portable swamp. We learn that removing it after their departure is just a little bit tricky. Fred and George had made sure that nobody was likely to forget them very soon. For one thing, they had not left instructions on how to remove the swamp that now filled the corridor on the 5th floor of the East Wing. Umbridge and Filch had been observed trying different means for removing it, but without success. And now, as much as I love hating on Umbridge, and I really do, she can cast a Patronus and is a qualified witch. So while it's fun that Flitwick eventually can remove this with a flick of his wand, part of me believes that the castle is unwilling to let the swamp go anywhere under her command. And the castle doesn't exactly stop there, though, either. I think it might be interfering more often than we think in ways that we don't ever see. One thing, for example, that has always confused me is the basilisk in Chamber of Secrets. We know that all year Ginny has been guiding it out into the castle and it's been petrifying its victims. And specifically petrifying because looking a basilisk directly in the eye causes instant death. But in each of these cases, something obscures direct eye contact. Mrs. Norris sees its reflection, Justin sees it through Nearly Headless Nick, Colin through his camera, and Hermione and Penelope Clearwater use mirrors when taking corners. And I don't think that part is being done by the castle. Some of it's just luck and some of it's cleverness by Hermione. What doesn't make sense, though, is the basilisk leaving perfectly good frozen bodies when it's always harping on, Come to me, let me rip you, let me tear you, let me kill you. Yeah, it does none of those things. Shy of the petrifications, the basilisk is incredibly non-violent and highly inefficient. Why? Why is this? Why leave freshly frozen meat just sitting there? We can be fairly certain that no one is just scaring it off, because then we would just know what we're dealing with. We would know that it's a basilisk. So maybe it's a question of what was scaring it off, and what if that thing is the castle? And it doesn't stop there either. One of the most notable ways that we know the castle seems to act of its own accord is the moving staircases. There were 142 staircases at Hogwarts, wide sweeping ones, narrow rickety ones, some that led somewhere different on a Friday. What if the staircases aren't just a quirky inclusion of the castle, but helping guide students towards their strengths, or conversely away from subjects it knows just aren't a good match for the student? Or maybe, at least in one case, a subject it doesn't feel is a good match for any student. Listen to this. They climbed the last few stairs and emerged onto a tiny landing where most of the class was already assembled. There were no doors off of this landing, but Ron nudged Harry and pointed at the ceiling, where there was a circular trapdoor with a brass plaque on it. Sybil Trelawney, divination teacher. Harry read, How are we supposed to get up there? As though in answer to his question, the trapdoor suddenly opened and a silvery ladder descended right at Harry's feet. Everyone got quiet. Can you believe that? There is no staircase to divination. They literally have to implement a ladder. And what was it that Dumbledore said about this subject? I had gone to see an applicant for the post of divination teacher, though it was against my inclination to allow the subject of divination to continue at all. Can't help but feel like the castle agrees. Then from there, we have yet another unusual circumstance. The come and go room, the room of hidden things, or most notably, the room of requirement. I sometimes think of this room as the very heart of the castle, literally able to provide what the students need based on its own interpretation of the requests being made, and dare I say, being only as helpful as it wants or needs to be. I mean, take for example, Draco. He needs a place to work on the Vanishing Cabinet and gets the Room of Hidden Things. And to be fair, we don't know what he asked for. Maybe he specifically said a place to hide this cabinet. But what he actually requires is a workshop, or really when you get right down to it, a way to get Death Eaters into the castle. Like, remember when Harry and the DA arrive and it's full of spellbooks, cushions, sneakoscopes, and other secrecy sensors? Harry doesn't ask for all this, just a place to practice, to learn to fight, where they can't be found. And yet, it just gives Draco a big room of junk. No secrecy sensors. He has to have Crabbe and Goyle stand guard outside every time. It serves his needs because, like the hat, that is its purpose, but it does feel like it could have been more helpful. It's just that the castle doesn't want Death Eaters inside of it. Or, for that matter, consider when Neville is using the room a couple of years later, and similar to Draco, needs a way to get his allies inside. Rather than working on a cabinet all year, though, the room just, gives him a portal to the Hogshead. How annoyed do you think that Draco would have been if he'd seen that passageway? What I love about this the most, though, is that it's the same room where Tom Riddle hides the diadem, the place that he is so sure that he alone had discovered. As for the school, he alone knew where in Hogwarts he had stowed the Horcrux, because he alone had plumbed the deepest secrets of that place. Yeah, he's all high and mighty, and he's only discovered the absolute most basic version of what the Room of Requirement is capable of doing, and his version of it, for all intents and purposes, is a literal dump. Hogwarts is a haven for magical education. The founders knew how vital it would be towards shaping a better future for generations to come, and while they may be long gone, the castle continues to perpetuate their ideals, play its hand when it can and where it can to help guide others towards that shared goal. There you go, guys. Hogwarts is alive. This one only got more fun the further into it I got and the more examples I could find. So let me know, are there any other situations where you felt like the castle was actively working towards the betterment of all wizard kind? Let me know in the towel section down below. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you'd like to see our video on how Hogwarts may literally at one point in time had previously existed as a dragon, trust me, there's actually more evidence to this than you might think. You can check out this video right over here. But otherwise, until next time, bye! And don't forget to eat cheese.